Together a group of scientists, 125 scientists, and they embarked on trying to show that the cell phones were safe. So 3 years into the research project, in 1996, George realized that there was a problem. Don't forget, he's got 125 people working for him, scientists from around the world. So he went back before the cell phone industry's board, and he wanted to explain to them that there were some problems. So one of the big problems was what's called the blood-brain barrier. And a 2-minute phone call with a cell phone will lower your blood-brain barrier for 20 minutes. The other thing that he wanted to share with them, which was really earth-shattering, was as part of your central nervous system, you have a parasympathetic system which functions without you even knowing it. It's your bowel movements, it's your heart rate, it's your lungs, it's all that. However, what they found was that the cellular radiation would affect the sympathetic nervous system. And that's when your adrenals get overloaded and you switch into what's called a fight or flight. So this constricts your eyes, your hearing, your bowels, your lung capacity, all of that. And what happened is that, I'm just going to use this, I'll put this down for a second, I'll show you a little demonstration here. So the cells of your body have a permeable membrane around them, and the membrane should look like this. So this is where your cells look like, so it allows nutrients into the cell, and it allows toxins to escape the cell. But under sympathetic lock, which George Carlo documented, is that your cell walls lock up, and therefore you can't get toxins. Thank you. It's a supporter. So under sympathetic lock, the nutrition cannot get in and the toxins cannot get out. And what George explained was, in the long term, this is something called apoptosis. And apoptosis is cellular death, which leads to cancer in the long run. So what did George get for this? What George got was an immediate dismissal. He was vilified by the industry and by his colleagues. Don't forget, George Carlo is an American trial lawyer, a medical doctor, an epidemiologist. He had more degrees than you can possibly imagine. His house was burned to the ground, all mysteriously, of course. But behind the scenes, the cell industry realized there was a problem. They immediately went to Congress in the United States, and they granted themselves their own immunity. So they're completely protected if there's any damage.
See?
But at the same time, Lloyd's of London, one of the riskiest insurance companies in the world, decided they were not going to insure anybody related to the cell phone industry. So that was so fast forward to 2008, George Carlo came here and did an amazing job explaining all about this research. I decided to get involved. That's when I formed my company, and now I do wireless technology training for Wi-Fi, WiMAX, cell towers. You name the devices, I'll test for it, as well as I do the electrical system of the house. So since then, I've done many talks on wireless technology and smart meters, and some of the companies that I was working with, Choices Market, Nature's Fair, don't want me back anymore. They said they had to do things with BC Hydro, so they had to minimize their exposure there. So what are some of the symptoms associated with this? So we got neurological symptoms, headaches, dizziness, fatigue, stress. We've got respiratory, pneumonia, asthma, sinus, allergies, cardiac, chest pains. I talked to somebody yesterday that had chest pains out riding his bicycle, had to go into the hospital to get his heart reset. We've got palpitations, blood pressure issues, and the number one thing that people tell me about when I go to test their house is they can't sleep. And isn't it interesting that 65 to 70% of all people in North America have sleep disorders? It's the number one medication to get people to sleep, whether it's something natural like melatonin, something like that. But as we know, side effects are always accompanying pharmaceutical medications. So throughout this presentation, I want you to take into consideration how some of this can be linked to COVID-19, which we know does not exist. COVID exists, not 19. They've never isolated it. The other thing I want you to notice when you're out driving around or shopping, how many sleep centers have popped up? How many people now use CPAP machines because they can't sleep? So the measurement standards that we use are based on decades and decades of research. There's an organization in Germany that started this all off. It's called the Building Biology Institute. And they base their standards on what's called the Bioinitiative Report, which was a conglomeration of 3,800 tests that was done by many, many scientists. They were all peer-reviewed, replicated. They all came to the same conclusion. So just to give you a little Cole's Notes version. So right here, where you're standing right now, Stephen will show a little bit later, but we were getting 20,000 microwatts coming from the direction of that building right there. Oh, look at that, it's Microsoft. So here's the thing, 20,000 is nothing. It is a lot to disturb people, but when you look at the standards that have been set by Industry Canada, it's called Safety Code 6. And Safety Code 6's standards were set by the industry for the industry's use. Safety Code 6 is 40 years old. Was not really designed when cell phones were as dominant as they are today. So how would you like to guess what the levels, the acceptable levels are by Industry Canada? What do you think the levels are at?
10,000.
10,000? Okay, you're going to have to go a lot higher.
1 million.
A lot higher.
1 million.
Come on, up there. Way up there.
A billion.
10 million.
Okay, it's actually 6 to 10 million microwatts per square meter. So 20,000 is nothing compared to that kind of a standard. So what we also need to understand is that this is all about the pulsed radiation. It's not constant radiation that comes from TV and radio. That has nothing to do with it. This is pulsing. This is communication from the cell tower to the cell phone and back and forth, back and forth. So 5G uses different frequencies. It uses about 5 different frequencies. And they're all bad. Bear in mind, you've got to look at the pulse. So the frequency isn't as important as the pulse. However, the further up the scale, the microwave scale that you go up, the closer you get to disturbing the mucous membranes. Remember COVID, mucus. It's also related to the skin. Now 5G has an enormous impact on the grid, on the electrical grid. And if you ever look at the base of a cell tower, if you dare go that close to one, you'll see massive cables. Massive cables are used to get the energy up to the cell antennas. They require a lot of power to push the signal. Now 5G also is going to mean that we're going to have to install millions, not thousands, but millions more antennas. And there's a race on right now for the development of devices that are going to be coming. And they estimate it's going to be in the billions of devices that are going to want to link up to 5G. And we're talking DNA damage, mucous membranes, all that. Like a vaccine, we need to stop it. We can't tolerate it. And right now, I think wireless is pretty much out of control. Now, my last sheet. Do you want to know the real reason for 5G?
Internet of Things.
What is it?
Internet of Things.
It's actually for self-driving cars
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
and artificial intelligence. Now, if you start doing the research, you'll find out that artificial intelligence is linked to facial recognition. It's leading to the social credit system, which is predominantly a demerit-based system, and it's leading to a cashless society. Do you know that right now there's an active campaign by Visa and MasterCard going to merchants and asking for them to stop taking cash, only go digital, charge it. You also know that Visa and MasterCard are the same company. What a surprise, eh? So this is all leading to digital monitoring, tracking your spending. I'm sure we've also had the experience of you're looking for a mattress or a car battery or something online. All of a sudden you're flooded with spam about mattresses and car batteries. It's all linked. And while you and I have been locked down or locked up, whatever, knocked up or whatever, it seems like COVID is like a Trojan horse. You know, COVID's got us all locked down, but in the meantime, they're going ahead and they're putting up the infrastructure to broadcast 5G. They're going into schools in the United States. They've got videotape of it. They show the crews going into the school and they disguise them as cleaning companies. But my friends who've gone into the schools and looked and said, what are you doing? They say, well, we're putting up this new technology. I'm sorry, I thought you were a cleaning company. Oh no, we're not nothing to do with it. Have you also noticed mysterious apps showing up on your phone? Anybody hear that? See that? It usually happens after you're down for the night. The phone's off. Hopefully it's not charging by your bed. But the phone is off, the app gets loaded, and you can't get it off. It won't stop. So, in closing, I want to recommend a few things that you can do. One of them is to watch a movie that was shot here in Vancouver called Take Back Your Power. And it was filmed by Josh Del Sol. It's now been an award-winning film. Another one you might want to look at is called Resonance, Beings of Frequency. It's a phenomenal movie. You can actually watch it for nothing on YouTube. Now, my tips. Turn off your deadly devices anytime you don't need to use them. Airplane mode. Do we really need to be checking our devices every 10 seconds? I have a friend who had put an app on his phone to find out how many times in a day he checked his text messages and her messages in general, and it was 185 times in one day. And he doesn't even consider himself to be a frequent user. Now, my recommendation is to tune out the TV, the cell phone technology, tune into nature. It's here to support us. As a matter of fact, in Japan, they have a recommended therapy for people who are suffering from electro hypersensitivity. It's called Shinrinku. Translated, it means forest bathing. Just go out, wander the forest. God sakes, don't take your cell phone.
Let's go, guys.
Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you got some information. I'll be around. Stephen's going to follow me, so he's going to talk more about technology, but we'll be here to answer questions. Thanks.